don't we?
I think we do. I think we do, in fact, live in a society, Sam.
We live in a society where filmmaking is a distant memory. Don't we, Jack?
It's content, as far as the eye can see.
So a lot of people are probably going to hear this episode and they're going to be like, why aren't you talking about something more important? Like, what's going on in Russia? Or Joe Biden? Or...
a coup in Myanmar.
Yeah, we don't talk about the things that are important. We talk about the things that we like.
Yeah, we don't podcast for likes. We like what we podcast.
This is not your father's podcast.
Yeah.
All right?
That's why we're...
This isn't the podcast you show to a girl on the first date.
No, that's why we're coming to you live with our hot takes on film.
Yeah,
via
because...
Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, because Martin Scorsese's in the news again.
That's right.
Yeah, talking shit on Marvel movies and how awesome they are and how Marvel movies, like, come on, man. Like, I don't understand why people don't like Marvel movies. It's really fun to see all the cool good guys flying around for 2 hours in a CGI room, whatever those are called. And, you know, they make really witty, funny, hilarious jokes that you're going to say for years afterwards that have always, you know, staying power. And, you know, I'll grant you, in the beginning, it was a little white. But now they've got, you know, an Asian one coming out. I think they're doing a Latino one. Do they have any Latino ones? No, but they got the women ones.
Yep, they got the women one. They had Black Panther.
They have Black Panther.
You're making another Black Panther without Chadwick Boseman.
All right, I'm not going to make any jokes about that because I'm legitimately sad that Chadwick Boseman died. But I do remember, I got to say this about the first Black Panther movie. It came out in like 2016, I think. And they made a "What are those?" joke.
Yep.
So we don't have to pretend it was a good movie because it was had an all-black cast. Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say there. You don't have to...
I mean, I liked it.
No, it sucked.
Okay.
Marvel bad. I was being facetious. I don't like Marvel movies. I think, you know, I'll admit I did when I was a kid, and I still watched pretty much... I watched every single one except for the Thor movies, because I think Thor is a stupid concept for a character, and I heard, other than the third one, they're all really boring anyway. Yeah. And I went out of my way to not see Captain Marvel.
Well, yeah, that's because we know you have like a history with your thoughts on women.
I don't. That's a weird thing to joke about. But secondly, and I saw them all. The last one I saw was Endgame, and I saw the other Spider-Man one, the one they go to Europe. And so I have enough of a background to say that they're bad movies.
I mean, here's the thing with Endgame. That's like the perfect point to stop caring.
Right?
Yeah. Right?
Like, they set up this whole thing for 10 years, and they did it. They had the big CGI battle where all the characters teamed up. And, you know, there were explosions. And I'll admit, some of it was cool. They had the shot where all the woman Avengers were in a line, and I thought that was great. I would have loved, you know, I thought that was wonderful. I'm not trying to be funny. I think it's great that anybody these days can watch a superhero movie and be like, that's me, you know, that guy looks like me, that girl looks like me.
Yeah, although I don't know how many people can say that with Kumail Nanjiani and his whole deal.
Oh yeah, the roid rager.
Yeah,
the roidy rager.
Which, to be fair, all of them are on roids. It's just Kumail Nanjiani his transformation over the course of a year is particularly absurd when you see his Giga Chad jaw.
Yeah, he has
extreme vascularity.
A meme jaw. And yeah, you're kidding. You're insane if you think Chris Pratt was like, you know, the turn from a great big fat person to like the most buff guy in Hollywood, like, you know, without some serious, you know.
Verdict is in, Marvel stars. They are not natty.
Yeah, the needle and the damage done. But okay, let's...
To get back to like the original point before we went off on this tangent, Martin Scorsese, probably one of the greatest living directors.
I always say he might not be the best living director, but he belongs in the conversation when you're arguing about who's the best living director.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, because I'm thinking of other living directors, and I guess the only other one that really matches him is Coppola, as far as like just generating classics. But
yeah. In terms of generating content.
Yeah. But anyway, we should do a brief history of his like rich conversation about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and his thoughts on superhero movies, because this isn't the first time that he's been the main character on Twitter for his thoughts on cinema.
No, yeah, we're doing this episode because we don't have any episode topics because what are we going to talk about? Did you know Joe Biden's not actually going to do stimulus? Oh no, I had no idea. I never would have thought of that. Yeah, so we're talking about topic ideas, and Martin Scorsese, like, a knight in shining armor, comes crashing into the room to
divine inspiration.
Yeah, and I think it was over the summer where he said that Marvel movies aren't like, they're like theme park rides, and that they're emotionally hollow experiences, which is correct, but a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe has a lot of die-hard, rabid fan base, and we can talk about whether or not those people are paid shills. I guess I have a very conspiracy theory-minded brain. I just assume that all the people that have, like, their own podcast or YouTube series where they're, like, in a studio and behind them is, like, a wall of Funko Pops.
Yeah,
of like
they're not real.
Oh no, 100%. They get money from Disney to go to the events early. They get like, they do the loot box openings where they're like, oh, it's a Ray. I was gonna say something really inappropriate, but I won't. It's the Boba Fett's helmet replica, all that, embarrassing, stupid. All those people are paid Disney shills. That's like 100%. They get paid to be like I got excited when Darth Vader got out his lightsaber.
I'll do you one better. I think it's CIA. I think that they know the significance of American cultural exports, and so they pay these people to shill for American media corporations online.
I mean, Wonder Woman was written by the CIA. The new Wonder Woman movie, 100% written by the CIA. I think the bad guy in the new Captain America show is like an anarchist or something. I don't know. It's like it's not Captain America. It's like the new Captain America.
It's the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Sure.
But anyway, getting back to Martin Scorsese. So yeah, he's been probably one of the most outspoken people in Hollywood right now, saying that this isn't real cinema, which of course draws outrage at the suggestion or the notion that there might be such a thing as real cinema.
Yes, I will say this. We're going to get into a different conversation about today's comments, but what he said originally, I think, should be talked about, because it created like this sort of like Martin Scorsese was being portrayed as like a snob, like high end, like, oh no, only Citizen Kane and what the Academy, bequeaths awards to is real cinema. But that's not what he was saying, right?
No, that's not, and I think that it can very easily be like misinterpreted to be that, but I think more so than like detracting from popular cinema, he was more so like holding up his own ideal of cinema as something that more people should be watching instead of like the theme park rides. I mean, when you look at what Martin Scorsese is saying, he's not saying like, oh, you shouldn't enjoy movies. He's saying like, my movies are like, what I aim to do with cinema is to like explore human experience. The Marvel movies are not an exploration of human experience. They're theme park rides. You can enjoy them, but like, you're not deriving some sort of greater intellectual, spiritual, whatever experience from them as you might from, I don't know, whatever the current Italian film from like the 1920s that he's restoring is going
Yeah,
to do.
wait, another thing. Doesn't he have like a nonprofit that restores?
He has two non-profits for film restoration, including
Yeah,
an
so
African
like
film.
movies that that are made in Africa by Africans that like nobody would see otherwise.
It's very hard to call it gatekeeping when his whole deal is creating cinema that's accessible to everyone.
Yeah, like yes, like he's literally doing what you people demand to do, and he's literally uplifting marginalized voices through film, with his nonprofit. Um,
Yeah.
But
I think you're starting to like mix your enemies together. I
No,
don't think that's one of the main
no. There is
criticisms.
a social justice Marvel fan lobby. Is like you're right. It is a splinter faction, but
yeah, these aren't. That's not the main bad guy of this episode, though.
No, and a lot of those Snyder Cut guys are right wing.
Yeah.
Like we have to talk about that by the end of the episode.
Oh,
we have
of course,
to, because that all ties in. That all ties together. But so. On the subject of real cinema, is there like a real cinema? And do you think like Martin Scorsese's right in asserting that like Marvel movies are not real cinema? And like what standards do they not meet?
Well, I know you've come at me for using this phrase before, but when I say that like I enjoy a movie, you're often very outspoken. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
what do you mean by that?
I enjoyed this. Like,
and I think that it should be noted there is a place for that. There is a place for movies that you sit down and you enjoy. Is Kong vs. Godzilla going to be an uplifting spiritual experience? No. Is it something that I'm going to watch and enjoy watching? Almost certainly. Are you going to watch it with me?
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, Team Kong.
Yeah.
The Tempest is 100% fully endorsing Kong for victory.
This is true.
And, that's what he's called them theme park rides, because theme park rides are, like, fun.
Yeah, and I think that there's something to that in, like, the blockbuster format, and it's made only more accessible through, like, Netflix, Amazon, all those other services that can let you inject those movies directly into your bloodstream.
Yeah, but
I was going to say the problem with that is that comes at the expense of a lot of these smaller, mid-tier budget movies that are like actual artistic projects. They're endeavors. Like you can see the work went into writing them, directing them, the acting, and like they come around every once in a while as like awards show darlings, and like then they start to appear in like the top 10 on Netflix or whatever. But I think that with his statements, he definitely outlines us running the risk of elevating content over cinema, which leads directly into his like most recent set of comments.
Yeah, and to be clear, he's not saying you can only watch like movies that had a budget of like $1,000 and
If you like go through his quotes, you can actually he says you are explicitly only allowed to watch movies that he made about dudes being really cool and correct about everything, like Goodfellas, Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, that's the
Raging
stupidest
Bull.
thing. People are like, "Oh, Martin Scorsese, he just makes mafia propaganda." That was a real tweet I saw today. Like, yes, because you watch all those movies and you're like, what Martin Scorsese is saying is that the protagonist is good.
Yep.
You're supposed to try to replicate the protagonist in all of his movies.
Yeah, I watched The Irishman, and by the end, I was thinking, man, I wish I painted houses.
Yeah, go beat up your brother like he did in Raging Bull, because that's clearly like what you're supposed to do. Yes, and today he said that movies have been turned into content, and that has like destroyed the art form. Are you pulling up the exact quote?
Yeah, I was gonna get us the exact quote in a second. He said directly, and I quote, "The art of cinema is being systematically devalued, sidelined, and demeaned, and reduced to its lowest common denominator due to the naming of films as content."
Damn, that's pretty.
It's when you break that statement down into its core parts, it is very unobjectionable. When you think about like what sort of film is supposed to represent as a medium, and again, like maybe you think some directors are taking themselves too seriously, calling them themselves artists. I mean, we'll get to the Snyder Cut later, but
or like that David Lynch movie with the monkey.
Yeah, yeah, but like what he's basically saying is that yeah, there is artistry to film, but the label of content isn't like a cinematic term. It isn't something that like has been historically used in Hollywood. It is a term that is originated from like our current media atmosphere through like the streaming services, where making these movies, churning them out of like the meat grinder every week. In Netflix's case, they're releasing a movie every week this
Disgusting.
year. It's not a artistic expression. It is a business plan. You do not make movies for your company. You are making content for your platform.
Yeah. Yes, and that's what the Marvel like cinematic universe, like the I don't even want to call it like cinematic. The what the Marvel and the Star Wars now churns out like
exactly. And now with like the advent of Disney Plus and the fact that they've started doing like the TV shows based on it, it is this like directly from like the Disney machine straight into your mouth like pipeline.
Yeah, it's like that meme of the guy that's hooked up to a chair and like and like they're like he's being injected with like Harry Potter, Netflix, Marvel porn, and like somebody's like, this seems wrong, and let people enjoy things. That's exactly like, you know, it's like this disgusting, you know, machine that's eating away at like actual really existing artists. There was a subplot in BoJack Horseman about this, about how like the director that he was friends with just wanted to make, you know, lesbian romance independent movies, but signed like a deal to do like a Marvel movie, and like felt all guilty about it, but it was the only way she could get noticed and all that.
Yeah, and I mean you look at the people that they've had write and direct Marvel movies. I mean, you kind of have like the same directors doing the big ones, but then you have like indie directors like Taika Waititi doing the third Thor movie.
Getting like, as far as I'm concerned, it's like they're holding like talented people hostage, because Robert Downey Jr. was an amazing actor who gave amazing performances in the Charlie Chaplin biopic and Zodiac. I remember really liking his performance in Zodiac. And he was like kidnapped by Marvel to like say like what
other than like the Sherlock Holmes movies, what did Robert Downey Jr. do between like 2011 and now?
Like and afterwards he does Dr. Dolittle. And you know, all these other people too, like Scarlett Johansson kind of rose above it, but you know, the Chris Evans, I'd love to, you know, see him in a real movie. You know, maybe he'd actually you know.
If he went back to that. I mean, some of them do show up in like other places and start to do real movies again, but no, I mean, if you look at like the actors that have been basically consumed by the Marvel universe, you see like again, you said Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., people with bit parts, like the character actors can like come and go. I mean, you had like in the Captain America, the first one, you have like Stanley Tucci in it. You have Tommy Lee Jones.
And,
like all of these
just
great character actors like come and go, but like the core cast, that is
because they sign these contracts
it's like decade-long contracts or whatever, and that's why you start to get worried when you see with like the new TV shows coming out. They've got Oscar Isaac in Moon Knight.
Because a TV show takes like way longer than a movie, and you basically like you can't do anything else for an entire like season of filming.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, with Oscar Isaac, I think it's Ethan Hawke.
No, Ethan Hawke
I want to check. I want to double check that. But
I think he is. You're right. He's being the villain in Moon Knight.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke. Yeah, he's in Moon Knight. So again, two of probably the most talented working actors right now. Then you have Mahershala Ali is going to be playing Blade. That's a main role.
And he's actually a good actor.
He was already in the Luke Cage series, but I think I make an exception for like the Netflix Marvel TV shows, because those were borderline artistic.
Oh,
Like,
Well, that's maybe drop the R.
have you like watched Luke Cage or Jessica Jones?
My mom really liked Jessica Jones, but I don't. I'm not. I told you I'm not watching any more Cape shit. I'm gonna watch the Snyder Cut because the Snyder Cut is gonna be the worst movie I've ever seen in my life,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the genre that I'm more okay with the superhero movies. It's the Cape shit that's pretending it's not Cape shit. I mean, Jessica Jones is like trying to be like a detective story. Luke Cage is supposed to be like it models itself out of like the 70s blaxploitation
Oh, okay.
era of filmmaking. Or you watch the movie Logan, and that's like a western, or it's trying to be a western.
Okay. All right. Now, all right. That you remind me.
Yeah.
Okay. That's you're describing it. You're saying that's an example of why it's good. Here's why that's actually like bad. All
Yeah.
right. If you go back and you watch Joker, it's less good on a second viewing, but I think most movies are maybe. And but if you watch Joker again, and what are the worst parts of that movie? In my opinion, the worst parts are all the Batman bullshit. All
Oh,
the
yeah.
times that they try to, making his dad be Thomas Wayne and, Bruce Wayne's parents getting killed in the end. The fact that they try to turn it into, like, a Batman universe is when the movie slows down. And instead of being, like, a character study about, an insane guy that's neglected by the system, it just becomes cape shit. And WandaVision, I remember when WandaVision came out, all the reviews were saying it's Lynchian. It's saying it's David Lynch-esque. If you want to see a David Lynch thing, you should watch WandaVision. And now you're saying that the Blue Cage was a parody or reference or whatever to blaxploitation films.
Yeah.
And Jessica Jones tried to be noir-esque. And the new Batman movie, the one with Robert Pattinson, it looks like they're going to try to make the Riddler like a serial killer-esque guy, and that's
Yeah.
going to be like a noir-style film, which, like, sounds good, but the problem with that immediately becomes, like, where we might head down to a zone where the only way you can see movies like that is if they are part of one of the cinematic universes. Like, there won't be a single original thought. It'll be like, oh, okay, well, we're going to make a one about a Western cowboy, and it's going to think, oh, it's just a Western film that happens to be... No, there's going to be like a bunch of bullshit in the end that somehow ties it to the larger universe. Like, oh, he's trying to get one of the Infinity Stones. That's the, it's like... There's going to be no room for originality, and there's going to be like 5 cinematic universes that you like get to watch, and that's it.
Yeah, and I understand that, especially with like the Netflix Marvel shows, how they tried to bring in like a ninja cult thing and like tie them all together into the Defenders, which I didn't like as a TV show. But what I think that it offers an opportunity, and again, I always uphold Logan as a really good one, because Logan actually just like didn't do any of that. Logan built itself basically on the grave of the X-Men franchise. And like, because at this point we can recognize the X-Men franchise is like dead. It is like, the Marvel movies, they keep going or whatever. Nobody saw like the last 3 X-Men movies. Nobody cares about the X-Men
Absolutely
movies.
Not.
And Logan basically took that franchise and made like a post-apocalyptic western that was about how like alone and sad he is, and like built on the mythos. And I think that's what it offers, is it offers like a building block for you to actually like do something with. I mean, Endgame, like it or not, it was the culmination of like 10 years of storytelling and mythology building, and that should let you do something interesting. It usually doesn't, and they usually like fail to do it. Instead, they just try and like perpetuate whatever tired storyline. But the fact that Logan was able to like capture like the sort of ennui of like, I don't know, like just everything being over and like him being a sad old man, and then like actually tie up the storyline with like a nice bow and finish things. Actually, like the fact that it was part of this broader franchise elevated it and its message, which Logan is probably one of the only ones that's been able to effectively do this. I mean, Jessica Jones, which I also liked, is really just an expression of like the externalities of living in a superhero universe, where it's the Marvel ones are them like going around causing collateral damage, and Jessica Jones is like, oh, what if this person could just like tell you to do something and you had to do it? Wouldn't that be fucked up? And that's like the plot of the show is like, yeah, if these people actually existed in real life, it would be really terrible for normal people. And it's like that sort of interesting twist that actually does something with these concepts. But with that, then you see shows like The Boys, which basically just builds the universe from scratch with like all the mythology already in place, and has ultimately a lot of the same messages. Granted, The Boys is a very cynical and dry, sort of dark humor take on like basically the MCU, and in some ways like the superhero.
Yeah, it's like
mythos.
a parody of the MCU, like, and like, you know, Superman was real, he'd be like a sociopath, like the Homelander, and
yeah, and I was gonna say, and that's where.
When the corporation that owns all the superheroes, it's a throwaway line in like the end of season 2, but they literally say, we're a superhero company second, first we're a pharmaceutical company, and like I'm like, oh, there it is, that's the future of Netflix. I can't wait for Netflix to get involved in like become big pharma. Like, I believe that's like a future like end stage of capitalism for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's where like Martin Scorsese is right. Is a lot of these superhero content. Let's just start calling it superhero content because that aligns very much with his message. But a lot of this content is really for nothing. But you do get like a few of those gems in there that can sort of utilize how vapid the franchise is to like boost itself into being something better.
Yeah. And now I think we should talk about his comments today and how that relates, like, in a larger way to capitalism as an economic system. And, like, really his criticism was anti-capitalist, whether he meant to or not. Like, it, like, exposed how under capitalism artists are forced to, like, you know, instead of producing what they want, produce what's profitable.
Yeah, and like watching the Super Bowl and seeing a Sesame Street ad because HBO decided to pimp out Big Bird to Uber Eats to in whatever ad. And yeah, remember when they said Netflix was going to end cable and you wouldn't have to buy any more of the packages or anything? You just watch it all streamed?
Yep.
Well, we also saw the new Paramount Plus coming to us. You've got Peacock. You've got all of the original ones.
You got
Disney,
HBO.
Hulu, HBO. Yeah, all of that. And yeah, so it's basically what first felt with like Netflix is like the democratization of movies has quickly become like the carving up of content into these like various networks where you have to essentially choose what genre, what subset.
And it doesn't even make sense anymore. Like, Disney Plus owns The Simpsons. If you want to watch The Simpsons, you have to get a Disney Plus account.
Yep.
HBO owns DC Comics. I don't know.
Hulu is also owned by Disney, but you have to get the separate subscriptions.
Yeah, naturally. Yeah, you can't have two. It became cable again.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, it you know.
And yeah, and this brings it like back to the earlier thing is you're churning out content not for the sake of like art, you're churning it out to take up a larger market share. You're not trying to make movies that are challenging or anything. You're trying to make the I don't know, the protein paste that people enjoy the most and can't stop consuming.
Yeah, and they don't in The Boys. I think everybody should watch The Boys if you're like exhausted with like this
endorsed by Barack Obama.
Yeah, but they don't come right out and say it in the show, but they like heavily imply that the only movies that are made in this universe are the superhero adjacent bullshit ones. Like there are no actors, the superheroes play themselves, and like they fight crime for real in the universe, but also they like all make their own movies, and like it really seems like those are the only things that like people can consume are the superhero boys movies.
Yeah.
And do you think we're headed for like a future like that where it's just like these big budget, like Kong versus Godzilla, the Marvel shit, the Disney shit, and Star Wars 27. You excited to take your kid to see Star Wars 40 when?
I don't know. My only thoughts with Star Wars is they fucked up the last movie so bad that they're not going to make any more Star Wars movies for a while.
Yeah, they did give up. They
dropped the ball so hard that like
they fired the Game of Thrones guys.
Yeah.
The Game of Thrones guys were going to make their own trilogy. And all right, I was thinking about this. You know why the Star Wars prequels are like enjoyable despite being really bad movies?
It's because they're not filmed by committee.
Yes, it's because as stupid as George Lucas's imagination is, you're still seeing George Lucas's imagination like come to life, and like
he's an auteur.
Yeah, and like they're ridiculous. The Space Diner one where Dexter like Jetster, like but it's still an idea that someone had, but you should say that louder. So
I was gonna say I referred to Dexter Jetster as Space Stavros.
But the new ones are like corporate means tested. Like they're made in a corporate board. They make they direct entire scenes before they even have a director attached to the project.
Yeah, no, because that was the thing they were showing the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They had started the rendering for the Battle in Endgame back in 2016.
Yeah, it's insane. It's so emotionally hollow.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is George Lucas was able to follow through with his ideas, but then you see the new trilogy, they didn't really have a place where they needed to end or end up. And so you had Rian Johnson do his movie. You had J.J. Abrams come on because that got people all sad. They didn't like Rian Johnson's movie. Didn't respect the Star Wars lore. But then they brought J.J. Abrams back in, and he just changed everything.
Yeah.
And listening. Here's the thing: if you are making content, you are listening to your audience. If you are making cinema, you do not care what they think.
Yeah, yeah. Are you worried that the Dune movie is going to be like this?
I have no idea.
Okay, because the original Dune movie in the 80s was made to compete with Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely.
And, it is kind of weird that we're, living in the age of the big budget blockbuster, and suddenly Dune is coming out. It has, all of the demographic appeals, like Timothée Chalamet for girls with Tumblr accounts.
Yeah,
Zendaya for girls with Twitter accounts.
Yeah, Jason Momoa,
Jason Momoa for guys with Reddit accounts. They're checking all the boxes.
I mean, here's the thing. If we're talking about pandering though, as far as pandering to nostalgia that comes with Dune, Denis Villeneuve, the director, perfect guy to go with it. Did you see Blade Runner 2049?
I did not. I'm meaning to. I'm going to watch it before I see Dune.
One of probably the best movie of that year. I think, what year was that?
2019?
Yeah, or 2017, that's what it was. It was 2017. Hit, checks all the boxes for, nostalgia pandering as far as, a Blade Runner sequel needs. Still, I would call it cinema. I would actually call it a film because it is very much, you can tell it is something that they worked on, worked hard on, and it is an artistic expression. Same with a lot of his other movies, which fall in these very specific, broad, high concept film genres, but he still manages to make them very nuanced, very cerebral films.
So you're saying he's like the Muad'Dib?
Yeah. What I'm saying is
he's the Kids Watch Hatterack.
Precisely. If there's anyone that can bring Dune to the screen in the year of our Lord 2021, it's going to be him.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll say this again. If you liked David Lynch's Dune, you are a psycho.
Oh, I love it.
It's so bad.
I know,
it's
love it.
It's not, it's unwatchable. If you read the book, you should dislike it.
I know,
the book is amazing.
Here's the thing, yes, the book is amazing, and yes, the David Lynch Dune movie is bad, but it is my theme park ride.
You're right, fair enough. Thank God that
Do I want to watch Sting fight Dale Cooper? Yes, I do. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that, Sam.
My mom watched that movie with me, And she's like, Sting definitely just got it on that because he was mad that David Bowie was in the Labyrinth movie. And he's like, oh, what's that? I want to be in a fucking movie too.
Yep.
No, Sting was the best part of that.
No, I
for
mean,
sure.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie, but again,
It's not. But go off.
yeah, and that's, I guess, I mean, even with Dune though, like it's a paint by numbers sci-fi movie with like the David Lynch one. I mean, but it's still weird enough to not like actually. It is weird enough to make you uncomfortable watching it.
Oh, certain. Yes. Like this.
Like, it could have been a very bland movie, but, like, in watching it, you can tell that David Lynch had just enough control over it to make it a very bizarre viewing experience. And,
my Baron, your skin is so beautiful, my Baron. Your skin.
yeah, and then he's, like, flying around the ceiling or whatever.
Your skin is so beautiful.
And that's the thing with, like, the Star Wars movies, you don't get that because J.J. Abrams isn't... He doesn't have, like, that thing. He doesn't bring anything to the project.
He sucks. Like, fuck.
His whole deal is the mystery box, which is a distinct absence of something in a movie.
Yeah, his Star Trek movies are, like, not good.
Yeah.
I only saw the first two, but...
Yeah, I mean, the third one was about as good as the first. It was, like, down the line, perfectly adequate movies.
That's what a lot of people said about The Force Awakens. Like, oh, this is just a pretty flagrant ripoff of A New Hope.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that because I'm a man baby.
And that comes with, like, the whole idea of content is they are perfectly adequate movies. You can watch them. They won't leave a bad taste in your mouth, but you're not going to get anything from them.
Yeah. I do want to spend some time talking about Martin Scorsese's detractors and, like... mainly like Marvel fans who are like aggro at that someone would dare like speak out against them, because like I said, I think that all of these people are like paid shills, but the ones that aren't getting paid for it but are still, like, I have all the Funko Pops, I have a model Infinity Gauntlet that I use to pleasure myself, like they're man babies, which is distinct from a man child. A man child is someone who won't, necessarily leave the home, who, makes his mom make him Pop-Tarts and plays video games. A man baby is someone who might be able to leave the house, but they're still just, like, upset, like, consuming, like, childish media. Like, no, all right, I'm going to say it. The people who are, like, the people who say things like, ruined my childhood, when they see, like,
when they see Luke toss a lightsaber.
Yeah. Those like man babies, like people who like, no, I like my freaking, and this is where sort of like the Snyder Cut people and the Marvel people meet in the middle, because they're two very different. Like, like Marvel fans are usually, they're more diverse, and Snyder Cut fans are like, very like white men. Usually there's like political differences and like cultural differences. Like, yeah, I want to see Batman.
The people
like,
that unironically like Snyder movies, like all of them, are usually fascists. It's a trend that's
and
there.
To be clear, I don't think Snyder is one. He's like not. He just wants to adapt Atlas Shrugged because he thinks it looks cool. He's like a Hillary Clinton liberal. He's like a really normal guy.
Well, here's the thing with that, because I think it was The Fountainhead. Actually,
whatever.
Which is a movie, or not a movie, but it's a book about a really immature artist, an auteur, that gets really upset when someone changes his vision, so he burns everything down.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
well, maybe. But I'm not...
That's the Justice League movie.
He's not like... Yeah, it's... You gotta respect him, though. You gotta respect he, like...
Well, that's why I'm excited for the Snyder Cut, is because... Justice League was boring. It was Joss Whedon's.
Yes.
Very bland.
They wanted to compete with the Avengers, so they turned their movie that wasn't the Avengers into the Avengers, and didn't make any sense because obviously, like, Batman versus Superman was not the Avengers-esque.
Now, if you watch Batman v Superman, is it a better movie than Justice League? By like conventionally, no. Is it a far more interesting movie than Justice League? Absolutely. I would always watch Batman v Superman over Justice League. That is 3 hours of very, very strange choices.
Yeah, I never
in
saw the
filmmaking.
R-rated version. I want to see the R-rated version.
Me neither.
sometime.
Yeah, we should watch that leading up to
See,
Snyder's
like,
Justice League.
what R-rated like Batman like kills somebody.
Yeah,
Batman
I think Batman says fuck.
Oh,
there's
no.
blood in it, maybe.
Oh, it's so awesome. This isn't your dad's Batman. You understand that? This isn't Adam West. That's like that's the
Our
thing.
Batman, he's a fascist.
Batman's gonna cut the Joker's head off and make out with the skull.
Yeah, because he said it in an interview specifically that he wanted to make a Batman movie where you wouldn't be surprised if Batman was raped in prison.
I didn't want to say yes,
Yeah,
he did say that. Like, that's the thing. Like, the Snyder fans have been like, this isn't for kids. This is an adult, and like they're man babies. That's what a man baby is. Like, insisting that like. That's another thing about Joker. I feel like I liked Joker. I enjoyed Joker. You know, I thought it was a good movie, but I feel like the only reason it came out was so that people who only consume this type of shit can pretend they're like becoming more adult-like. They're like, see, this Joker had darker themes. There was no good guy in the whole movie.
Yeah, it's the putting your Lunchables on a nice platter and calling it a charcuterie board.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, you know, yeah, it's like putting your Pop-Tart in the toaster oven instead of just eating it raw out of the package.
Yeah, but
and that's what the Snyder Cut is now like becoming like the culmination of. In a way, it's kind of like the antithesis to you know, Marvel movies, like means-tested, corporate boardroom proved, like Star Wars, where everybody, you know, has a happy ending and there's no, you know.
Yeah, it's the counterculture becoming mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. And it just so happens that this time the counterculture also sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And well, I think to like return to our earlier conversation about this being like the product of capitalism and like the different market shares owned by these companies, and I think that we should actually start to talk about like the monopoly power that a lot of these content media companies hold, especially with the controversy surrounding Disney and their choices recently.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Why don't you start us off? Because I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I was talking mostly about the change in creative direction of The Mandalorian and their decision to cut actress Gina Carano.
Oh, yeah. So what? Like, I'm getting differing reports. I haven't seen a single statement that she made. Is she like your run-of-the-mill, like, idiot Hollywood Republican, or is she like Marjorie Taylor Greene Jewish space laser stuff? I don't understand.
She's I'd say she's like on the like anti-Semitism Hollywood scale. I'd say she's a little bit better than Mel Gibson. The two posts in particular.
You mean better at anti-Semitism or a better person?
Better person.
Okay.
Also like less developed anti-Semitism. Like Mel Gibson is very like deeply entrenched anti-Semitism. He made the movie about it with like the Jews killing Jesus and like said all the stuff about like the Jews running Hollywood.
He really went in on the whole Pharisees thing in his Jesus movie.
No, but it's okay because Hacksaw Ridge was really good, so they just kind of let him back in. But no, it was the two posts in particular that she made. One was an Instagram story, and the gist of it was that like for the Holocaust to happen, that you had to make people like hate their neighbors and think it was okay to hate their neighbors. And what if we're doing that now, but with political ideology? And so it never like explicitly said like, oh, us Republicans are like the Jews during the Holocaust, but it made like the illusion like, you know, what if like making people hate people because of their like political decisions? What if that was like the Holocaust? Or like what if we're leading up to the Holocaust?
Okay.
The other one was a cartoon on her Twitter, and it was a Monopoly board on the backs of like a bunch of people, and then it was a bunch of rich people all playing on the board. All of them just happened to be like caricatures of different Jewish billionaires.
Like George Soros.
Yeah, and like all of that. And then it said, all we have to do is stand up and the game is over. Meanwhile, there was like stacks of gold on the middle and like all that sort of things on like the backs of the people.
Right, so it could be interpreted as either the anti-capitalist to anti-Semite pipeline.
Yeah.
You know, that a lot of left liberal
but
Zionists are believe in.
Yes, but the fact that it was posted explicitly by someone like in Hollywood that is upper income tends to suggest that perhaps it was not a class critique, especially since the cartoon itself was very clearly all of the people
were Jewish. Okay, yeah, so obviously she's a bad lady, so her firing is, I guess, a good thing.
I don't know. I have problems with at-will employment, so it's hard to say whether or not it was a good thing that she was fired. I think the main reason Disney fired her is because they actually told her in the past, like, hey, knock it off. You're a bit part in our TV show.
Dude, that's another thing. I have very little sympathy for her because she had the easiest acting gig in the world. All she'd have to do is be like, these blaster doors won't hold for much longer. What are we gonna do, Mandalorian?
All she had to do is like show up, look stoic, and just be a muscular woman.
Yeah. Like I remember watching the season 1, and let's just say I'm sure they might be able to replace her and maybe find a better actress.
Yeah, and I guess that was the whole conversation. It's like, oh, should she have been fired? Was this okay? There was like the whole cultural uproar, all of that. But I think the bigger question it raises, like, now that media is carved up like between all of these specific companies, it becomes a lot easier to blacklist people. And so, say Disney comes out and says like, yeah, we're not going to hire you for anything again. Is that okay? Is Disney's monopoly power, even if it's like being used to express something that you might agree with in theory, that's kind of scary to think about, the fact that like a company like Disney has that power to say, like, you posted these 2 things that we don't agree with. We told you not to post things we don't agree with. We're going to terminate your contract over that. Good luck finding a job elsewhere.
Yeah, how far removed is like Disney from like, if you don't work at Disney, you'll never work in Hollywood again. Like,
yeah.
And to be fair, Gina, whatever her name is, like already signed a deal with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, because
Ben Shapiro's trying to make movies now, which...
Well, that was like his villain origin story, is that he tried to be a Hollywood screenwriter, but he was so terrible at it, he never got like anything adapted, and so he went to be a right-wing media guy.
No shit, I did not know that. I knew he was L.A. born and raised.
Yeah, and then he went to like Harvard Law and then tried to be a screenwriter. It's the Harvard Law to screenwriter pipeline.
I've been told that his the one novel that he wrote is like laughably atrocious.
Yeah.
Like the Chapo Trap House podcast has picked it to pieces. Yeah. So if you're looking for a good laugh, I recommend
True Allegiance,
picking up Ben Shapiro's fiction novel. But I will say this: any film he makes, I will never pay for. But if it comes added to a subscription service I already have, I will watch it. I will watch anything little Benji puts on there. I am dying to know what the guy who hates WAP thinks of, like...
Yeah. Yeah, but no, it's actually a thing you start to see, is a lot of the right-wing media figures are like failed Hollywood, failed mainstream media. I mean, Dave Rubin, he's ex-Young Turks guy.
Yeah.
Steven Crowder was...
he was a voice actor.
A child actor.
Yeah, he Canadian actor, child actor.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of failed stand-up comedians. Dave Rubin tried to do stand-up comedy. Steven Crowder tried to do stand-up comedy. And it's not so much that conservatives can't be funny. That SNL guy, Colin Quinn.
Yeah.
Or, no, not Colin Quinn. Dennis Miller. Hilarious at Weekend Update. Conservative asshole. Norm Macdonald tries to do the whole apolitical, both sides are crazy thing, but he kind of leans right, and he's probably the funniest living stand-up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Burr, also in The Mandalorian.
Well, show. Bill Burr
he's not
is
a conservative.
He's liberal, but he gets outraged at like liberal cultural stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that the trick he always plays is he knows how to say the right things to get people upset without saying anything really wrong, and that frustrates a lot of people to no end. But he knows where the line is. He comes a lot closer to that line a lot more times than like Gina Carano ever did, but he knows where the line is.
Yeah.
And he knows not to go over it.
And plus, like, he's genuinely funny. You can be funny and be a conservative Republican. Like, I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely true. It just so happens that, like, they're not funny. Or, like...
I mean, you look
You
at
know.
Steven Crowder, who calls himself a conservative comedian, but he's a conservative first and a comedian never.
Yeah, he's not
just
funny
not
at
funny.
all. Like his like joke is like, you know, they still make like memes like from like 2015. You know, they still.
Yeah, his joke is that he'll like dress up in really bad drag and like try and go into a women's bathroom, and he thinks that's like edgy and groundbreaking.
Yeah, you really showed us, Steve.
Yeah.
You know what? It would
Or
really.
he'll just do like yellow face. That's
Yeah,
another thing.
yeah. You know what really own the libs? If you leave your wife and like become gay, and like you can prove how like gay people have it easier. You should do that, Steven. Anyway, Steve Bannon, successful movie guy.
Yeah,
I knew though he was very like before he got into Breitbart News, he like made a lot of money in
Well,
like
he was a Citizens United guy, wasn't he?
overturn like getting Citizens United like
No, like he was with the. He made documentaries for them, I thought.
oh probably I do know that he was like a successful filmmaker like you know obviously he's not going to win any Oscars but like in terms of like success compared to these other you know losers.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, we're starting to see these people emerge, and like again, Gina Carano trying to do the Ben Shapiro bit, and then you have Kevin Sorbo. You know him, Hercules.
The guy that played Hercules in
Yeah.
the shitty Hercules movie.
Yeah, and then he was in the God Is Not Dead movies. He was the atheist professor that gets hit by the car and killed in the end.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Sorbo.
he's like going off on like how anti-conservative all of that is, and it's starting to look like we have all the streaming services carved up. Are we going to be seeing like a conservative streaming platform where you just get like, I don't know, you get Kevin Sorbo movies, you get God Is Not Dead, you get to watch the Dark Knight trilogy.
They did that. I know Fox News, or just Fox, I think, had its own streaming service for a while. I don't know if it's still around.
Well, they're bought out by Disney. All their like movie and TV content is owned by Disney now.
Well, you know how whenever you see like whenever the Oscars are like about to come out, they have like a meme that's like, why don't we have a award show for our first responders and police officers and you know, they did that. They did it out of their streaming service the same night as the Oscars and like I think it was like 2019, but they did their own you know, and it was like a one night only event. You couldn't like watch it afterwards and like, you know, they did it. I guess like I don't know what you want me to say, like, you know. And also, that's kind of fucked up on principle. Like, what they're saying is, like, there can only be one best first responder. Like, you know, like, what are you saying? You're picking favorites? Like,
Yeah.
this is my... and the award for best troop goes to...
Yeah, that's right.
goes to Pat Tillman.
Oh.
Posthumously.
I was gonna say, is that like, are they doing like EMTs versus like, I don't know, wildfire responders?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of an absurd like thing. Like I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Every EMT I like. I don't want to have to pick one.
Yeah, I just want everyone to know what we do. We do it for the troops.
Yeah.
Support our troops.
Yes. Yeah. You know, I'm playing Call of Duty and I'm like, all right, where's Pat Tillman? Let's. Seriously, rest in peace, Pat Tillman. Guy who, he never, yeah.
That's an episode for another.
The
day.
most, it's funny how the most prominent Hollywood conservative, I should say prominent as in the most talented one, as both an actor and a filmmaker, is Clint Eastwood, and I think he's the best because none of his movies are like politically, with the exception of American Sniper.
This is Tim Allen erasure.
We should change our theme song from the one you wrote to just plagiarizing the Home Improvement theme song.
We should try that.
But okay, no, Clint Eastwood, with the exception of American Sniper, none of his movies are like, all of them have left wing like motives. Like I was saying this earlier. $1 Million Baby defends voluntary euthanasia.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Letters from Iwo Jima, World War II movie from the perspective of the Japanese, which isn't inherently left wing, but the idea of that is pretty like liberal, like both sides in a conflict. Richard Jewell, a movie about how the
about
FBI,
cancel culture.
yeah, no, it's about how the FBI is bad and like the media is bad for collaborating with the FBI, and you know. all that. Unforgiven, a critique of westerns as like a genre, like pretty much like the anti-western western. It's like a western about how like, yeah, these times were actually effed up and we shouldn't glorify them. It was like the anti-John Wayne movie. It's like what a John Wayne protagonist would be like if he got old.
Yeah, it's like, wow, look at this really nice like cowboy man. Oh wait, no, he's actually just a kind of a murderer. Like this guy is not okay.
Yeah. Gran Torino. I haven't seen Gran Torino, so I'm not going to comment on it. But I'm told it's a little problematic by today's standards.
I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen it either.
Oh, maybe we should watch it and talk about it. We can do an episode on it. But I did see $1 Million Baby, and Clint Eastwood's great. He's awesome. Yeah. You know? I saw Richard Jewell. I loved Richard Jewell.
I mean, the thing with a lot of Clint Eastwood movies is they're about class when it comes down to it.
Yes, yeah. $1 Million Baby is very class.
Even though he's like a conservative, the fact that he still frames it as a class narrative and like all of that, that's what makes it sort of like poignant as films and like not inherently conservative because he's using like a lens of lived experience that a lot of people can actually recognize.
Yeah, he's a class reductionist.
Yeah.
the right winger to class reductionist pipeline.
It's better than the other way around. So.
What?
I'd rather have right wingers becoming class reductionists than class reductionists becoming right wingers.
Well, actually, they're the same thing, and the Red Brown Alliance is real. Yeah. The Red Brown Alliance is what I called the toilet after I had one of your enchiladas. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding, baby. What next should we talk about? I'm kind of getting a little sidetracked. Yeah, I love Clint Eastwood. If we had to go to full civil war, and you and me had to kill all the Republicans, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could take out Clint Eastwood.
Well, he's probably gonna die soon, anyways. He's old.
He is really old.
He's really old.
I hope he has one or two. Yeah, that's another thing to worry about. All these filmmakers that are like, okay, here's a good way to like close out the show. We can talk about all these like filmmakers who are against Marvel movies, Coppola, Scorsese. We can probably throw Clint Eastwood and David Lynch into the mix too. All those people that like, you know, don't make shit like this and aren't necessarily fully retired. Mm-hmm. They're all gonna die soon, and you know, like, I guess the issue there would be or will they be like the end of an era of like independent, like a filmmaker using cinema as an art form to express a feeling?
Well, I guess the good way to discuss that is to think of like who, or rather, where are we getting like the new generation of like basically art house movies or movies that aren't going to conform to the big studio ones. And I think first thing to say with that, probably outside of America. I think that American movies are fine, but we are going to enter like a golden age of foreign movies, especially ushered on by Parasite winning Best Picture.
Oh, yeah.
I think that
Parasite is like the best movie I've seen in the past 3 years.
Yeah, Parasite, phenomenal movie. Best choice for Best Picture in a very long time. It's Absolutely. Like the first time in a while that I saw a movie win Best Picture and was like, yeah, that's spot on. Nothing else should or could have won Best Picture.
Yeah.
And I think Bong Joon-ho is going to be coming back.
Joker. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm kidding.
But, no, and I think we're going to see a lot of movies coming from overseas, and I think whether that's more Korean movies, French, anything, it's just easier to translate now, easier to see now that they're being put on streaming platforms, easier to make. All of that.
You know, it's weird. There's also a phenomenon of American filmmakers like leaving America to make their art. You know, I think the only place you can see a Woody Allen movie these days is France. I don't know if there's any connection there.
I was going to say, also the only place you can see a Roman Polanski movie.
The only place you can see a Woody Allen movie is Israel. I don't... Cut that out. Okay.
Well, I was going to say, moving forward, again, smaller studios, A24.
How much longer are we going to call them small? I feel like everybody knows the past 5 A24 movies.
Yeah, here's the thing. They they're not small anymore. They just do like small to mid-budget movies. But the fact that they have been able to consistently churn out like some of the best movies of the last decade, gives me hope for them into the future. Mostly because they just finance so many different projects from like such unique voices, cinematic voices.
Yeah, uncut gems, baby.
Yeah, even you look at some of the people that did do like the Marvel Star Wars movies. I mean, you have your Rian Johnson. He went from Star Wars and made Knives Out.
I didn't like Knives Out, but I will admit that it was at least original.
Yeah, it was something new.
Yeah, sure.
Or Taika Waititi. He did Thor movie. He was in The Mandalorian, all that. Also made Jojo Rabbit, which fantastic movie. I loved it, and I think we're gonna start to. I hope we see more of that, where it's people can come in and out of the big studio system.
Jojo Rabbit is a very good date movie.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
Sometimes
I don't know whether or not you're like joking or you're just saying things.
No, I mean it. I mean, if you want to like impress a girl, well, I guess the type of girls that I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
Are big, usually Jojo Rabbit fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess the question also becomes like, do you think superhero movies will like eventually die out as a genre? Do you think like
I hope so. I mean, I think the blockbuster format as something that's viable has got to die out soon. I mean, you look at some of the major flops in recent memory. I mean, the Dark Phoenix movie, no one saw that. The King Arthur movie from a few years ago.
Movie?
The guy, the British guy. I think his name is literally Guy. I can't remember what it is.
Guy Pearce? Guy Fieri?
No. I don't know. Either way, it was the British.
Oh, was it like the Magic King Arthur movie?
Yeah.
Like, and Jude Law
Charlie
in it?
Hunnam. Yeah.
Jude Law played the bad guy?
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it looked like shit.
Yeah. And that just bombed, and you're starting to see that with like a lot more of the bigger studio projects, where like the only thing that's viable is like the newest Avengers and like fucking Aquaman. But yeah, I'm hoping that sort of incentivizes more mid-budget.
Yeah, sure.
Movies.
Or do you think it'll go down the path where like if you want to see anything that's like different, you'll just have to hope. What I talked about earlier, like, oh, they're gonna make a noir style one. They're gonna make a romantic comedy one.
My fear is they see that blockbusters aren't viable anymore and they just go straight to TV. Like, they stop making movies. You've voiced concern over this before, but especially with, like, WandaVision, which, for, like, a 10-episode TV series costs, like, $200 million to make.
Yeah.
They're just going to put all of their money into, like, limited series and all that sort of thing, which isn't bad inherently, unless they're all, like, superhero ones, where eventually Disney Plus is going to have a thing where it's, like, Friday nights are Star Wars nights. Saturday nights, you get the Marvel movies.
Oh, okay.
And it's like literally as soon as one show ends, the next one begins, and you just get that constant stream of weekly content that you have to tune into, like cable.
Yeah, they've returned it into cable, and like the TV shows thing is so stupid. Like, if you tell, okay, we're gonna tell the story of what Obi-Wan Kenobi was doing in between episodes 3 and 4. Like, okay, yeah, that sounds like like an hour and a half long movie. Oh no, it's gonna be a 4-season long TV series. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. I don't want to watch that. But so many people will.
Yeah, no.
And like,
here's the thing: they'll keep making it until you stop buying it, and people aren't gonna stop buying it.
And they proved that they like will never try to do anything different in earnest. Like with The Mandalorian, like as soon as like season 2 dropped, they were like, yeah, we're gonna have Boba Fett show up, we're gonna have Darth Vader show up, we're gonna have Luke Skywalker show up.
Here, have Ahsoka. If you watch like each episode individually, they all run like a pilot for whatever side characters spin off.
Yeah.
Like the Ahsoka episode, very clearly a pilot for the Ahsoka TV show.
Yeah.
And the Luke Skywalker showing up at the end. Yeah, pilot for Luke Skywalker Jedi Academy, or whatever that one's going to end up being. Same with, like, Boba Fett. Now they're having the Boba Fett show.
Oh, really? You think they're going to make a Luke... Do you think they're going to do a Luke Skywalker show that's just young CGI'd Mark Hamill?
No, I think they might try and get, like, Sebastian Stan or someone that looks like Mark Hamill to play him or whatever. Like, have him grow a beard and, like, pretend to be...
That's another thing. Like, they like tested this out in the Rogue One movie where they CGI'd Peter Cushing to be Grand Moff Tarkin, like, and they CGI'd fucking what's her face, Carrie Fisher. Yeah, is that a thing that they're gonna do?
Yeah, I think they're gonna try and keep. I don't remember the movie. They're trying to do that with like James Dean.
Oh, what the fuck? What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Disney?
No, not Disney. I don't remember what studio it is, but they're like trying to make a movie with him, and they got like permission by the estate.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
They're gonna do that with everybody now. They're gonna do that with Marilyn Monroe, Marlon Brando, Buddy Holly.
Yeah, imagine being like an actor and you like go audition for a role, and then you get the news later that you actually like lost to like a CGI puppet of Marlon Brando.
How long do you think until they try to like remake all of like the old good movies like Citizen Kane and The Godfather? You think you'll see that in your lifetime, like a remake of The Godfather?
We're literally, well, it's not a remake, but Francis Ford Coppola is recutting The Godfather Part 3 and re-releasing it.
Oh well, that's just Francis Ford Coppola probably has another grandkid he has to put through college.
Well, he was also trying to do a video game of Apocalypse Now. I don't know how that one turned out.
Oh, I remember hearing about that. Yeah. Oh, dude, that'll probably come out sooner than Elden Ring.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, when you think about it, there are old movies that like they should just start with the cult classic stuff, like the remake of Evil Dead. I think that was pretty good. If you saw that, they tried to like switch it up, do something interesting with it. If you want like a free buy for like something to remake the Highlander movies. Like if you've seen Highlander anytime recently, they are like shitty movies. They're not good. Fun as hell, not good. If you like just remade them, be great. Like remakes should be a chance to do something again, but like fix it in a way that it was inherently flawed. They shouldn't remake good movies. I think that should be like the rule, is you can't remake a classic, you can't remake a good movie. You have to like pick a bad movie if you want to do a remake.
When's the next, I'm thinking, when you started talking about Highlander, I immediately thought of Mad Max. And like, Mad Max Fury Road was awesome. I want another Mad Max.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know when that is. Yeah, I think that's going to be in the next few years. That's the Furiosa prequel.
Oh, well, I wanted another Mad Max movie.
It's still George Miller, and you know what? Fury Road was a Furiosa movie anyways. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
I want to rewatch Mad Max.
Dude, yeah, this makes me want to watch movies now.
Yeah.
Get ready. We are going to have probably, the Snyder Cut is 4 hours long. Mm-hmm. That means we're going to make 4 1-hour episodes about it.
I was gonna say, maybe we'll do a live stream.
We should definitely live
stream.
We're gonna rewatch 300 and Watchmen, I think, in anticipation. Maybe if we have the time, we can throw Batman vs. I don't really want to rewatch Batman vs Superman.
I think we have to if we're watching the Snyder Cut.
Okay, all right. I think we should just have like the weekend before it comes out, just a Snyder binge watch. I've never seen the one that people actually think is good, Sucker Punch.
Yeah, I don't know if that one's actually good.
Oh, well, people always say I don't like Zack Snyder, but anyways.
Anyway, that's when we'll be coming back to you with our media takes. Until then, we'll be talking about Joe Biden or something.
I'm gonna push it off as long as I can, but we probably should talk about the stimulus and how the Democrats can just say anything and get elected. They could walk out into Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and Joe Biden wouldn't lose any supporters.
Yeah, but that's a conversation for another day.
Absolutely. Just start getting ready for the Snyder Cut. Start getting ready for Godzilla vs. Kong, and start getting ready for Dune, baby.
Yeah, well, and that's all for this week, folks. Enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, see you later.